Oh my gosh. I had my mic on mute. I was saying all this good evening and my mic was on mute. Rookie mistake. But hello, good evening, good evening. We are live on Visible Women on LinkedIn. Season 2 of Visible Women on LinkedIn is here. Who is here with me? Because we've been gone. How long have we been gone? Right? Season 1 was in November, finished just before Christmas, a couple of weeks before Christmas. So we've had like a month plus break, but now we are back with season 2 of Visible Women on LinkedIn. Who's here live with me? Hey, Gabby's here. Hi, Gabby. Good evening. You made it live today. Excellent. Malachi is here. We always have the guy. This guy's my husband today. I love it. I love it. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, guys, I am so excited to be launching this. I am so excited. Hi, Mawara. That's not like me to have. Do you know how many times I've had my mic on mute in Zoom calls? You would think after a year of Zooming non-stop that we would have this figured out by now, right? That Mildred would know where the mute unmute button is. No, no, it's still happening. So yes, I am so glad that you're all here tonight. Hi, Lucy. Good to see you. Hi, Lorraine. Liz is in the house. Liz was here for every single episode of Visible Women on LinkedIn season 1. So woo, woo, woo. That's for you, Liz. A round of applause, right? And listen, I know you're going to be here for this next lot as well. Guys, this is amazing. I am so excited by all the guests that I have for you in this season of Visible Women on LinkedIn. We are going to have a good time for the next 6 weeks. I don't want you anywhere else on Thursday, but right here, Thursday, 6 o'clock. I want you right here with me for Visible Women on LinkedIn season 2. So Lolette is here. JP is here. JP and Lolette are veterans from season 1. They kicked off season 1 and they were amazing. So I'm so glad to see you guys here. I have a LinkedIn user who says, good evening, Mildred and everybody else. LinkedIn user, I don't know who you are. Good evening. If you can unanonymize yourself, that would be fantastic. I've got another LinkedIn user and another one and another one. So there's a few people in here that I don't know because I can't see your names. But hey, welcome, welcome, welcome on board, right? This is exciting. I am really excited. For those who are new to Visible Women on LinkedIn, I want you to I want you to react to show that you're watching, because there's no way for me to know at my end who is actually online except for seeing your names or seeing your comments. So I want you to react at your end. I want you to give it a like, a love, something, just to kind of like a registration to let me know that you're here. And if you're watching on replay, that includes you too. I want you to also react, right? So I know that you're here. And I will be super grateful for that, so I can see who's tuning in with us. But listen, if you are new to the Visible Women on LinkedIn family, what this is a collection. It's not a collection, they're all individual, but it's an interview series that I came up with last year. But really, because I've met so many awesome women on LinkedIn who are doing amazing things with their business. And most importantly, they're being visible about it on LinkedIn. And what do I mean by being visible? It means that they're showing up every day on this platform or however many times a week, right? And they're putting out content, they're engaging, they're building their audience, they're building their community, and they're using this awesome platform to build their business and their brand. So I thought, wouldn't it be awesome to have conversations with them to get behind their minds and see what's going on and how the strategies are working out? So that's how season 1 came. Season 1 was so great that we're like, oh my God, there's so many more women. We need to carry this on. So here we are with season 2, which kicks off tonight with a fantastic guest. I'm going to tell you all about her in a minute, and I can't wait to bring her on, So we kick that off tonight, and we're going to be here for the next 6 Thursdays up until the 11th of March, Thursday, the 11th of March. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend and be right here with us, right? Good to see you, Chris. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Gula. Hi, Oyen. Hi, Gloria. Hi, Anne. Hi, Liz. Hi. Everyone, I'm so glad that you're here. So the LinkedIn user who says, how can I make myself visible? You're in the right place, but I know you're thinking about your name. the question that I actually don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can do that to make your name show up, but I think you have to play with your settings, right? Somehow. We will figure it out afterwards. But for now, you can type your name in the comments, when you comment, so I know who you are. But okay. I'm not going to drag this on anymore because I really want to have enough time to have the conversation that we're about to have with the fantastic guest that we're about to bring on. Now, her name is Danielle MacLeod. I hope I'm pronouncing MacLeod correctly, but she will correct me if I'm not, right? But Danielle and I connected on LinkedIn. I think it was sometime last year, first on post. I think I commented on our post and she replied and we had inbox conversation and realized we both had a similar sense of humor, and then we actually did a Zoom call and we got on really well. So when I thought about doing this series, I thought Danielle would be a fantastic guest to have on because not only is she remarkable, she actually has an organization called Remarkable Women, where she develops, supports, and champions women to create and live the life they long for. Now, she's a co-founder of that great organization, but she'll tell us more about it in a minute. But Danielle had an excellent corporate career, and she left it all behind to go solo. Why did she do that? We're going to find out in just a minute. So I am excited to bring Danielle to the stage. So I want you to give her the keyboard equivalent of a warm round of applause, right? As I bring Danielle to the stage. Okay, so Danielle.
That was just the best warm-up ever. I knew we were going to have fun, but I'm like, blimey, I'm going to take you everywhere I go, girl.
I love it. I love it. I should be on those wrestling things and they have those ring fences, like those height women. That's kind of how I see myself in my head, bringing you on.
I'm telling you, you're made for this work. And I'll give everyone a quick tip on my name. It's MacLeod. So
MacLeod.
Yeah, I'm part of the clan MacLeod from Scotland. And you can tell I'm not Scottish, but I do live in Scotland and my husband's Scottish.
Okay, MacLeod. I love it, Danielle. Well, it's so good to have you here, and everybody's excited to hear from you tonight. So I think let's kick it off with, I know I've just said you're an executive coach, you're also an author and a speaker, and you've got this Remarkable Woman organization, but how do you describe what you do in your own words?
Okay, so super simple. We spent a lot of time at the beginning of our business speaking to high potential women and having conversations with them about whether they were doing the things they really wanted to do. And about 97% of them, it was a big research piece, told us they really, really wanted to make a difference in the world, but that they weren't going to do it just yet because they didn't want to burn out. They didn't want to blow up their health. They didn't want to wreck their relationships. They didn't want to worry about money or the rest of it. And we were kind of like, well, we want you now. And so our work is about how do we show you how to create that life of impact and be joyful and love what you do and not blow up your relationships and all of that kind of thing. So it was really like calling women forth to make the difference they long to and giving them the tools that really help them do it.
Okay, fantastic. So obviously, this is not the kind of career that was probably around when you were young, right? So when you were growing up and you were little Danielle, what were you thinking of? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, do you know this already? I was really clear. There was only two jobs for me. So one was captain of the British It's a Knockout team. I don't know if anyone remembers that. The big inflatables where everyone was belting each other. And the other one was prime minister. So yeah, neither of those happened.
Yet.
yeah, well, there's still hope for It's a Knockout, maybe.
Okay, yeah. So okay, so you had this plan, and then describe your.
I went to uni, I studied politics. It was definitely my intention to go into politics. And I had this really interesting moment when I left uni. The only thing anybody wanted me for was the fact I could type really quickly. And so my first job, I was a secretary. And I spent a few years actually PAing and secretarying. And the amazing thing about that was I turned out to be really, really good at taking minutes, and most secretaries hate doing that. And so every company I worked for, all the secretaries just threw me into the boardroom. And so I was in the boardroom when I was 21 and taking minutes, but like super interested in what was going on. And so I kind of fell in love with strategy and how businesses work and how that all came together. And one day I piped up in a meeting and gave my thoughts on things, and my career kind of went from there, to be honest, in a very short story.
Yes, yeah. Well, we're not going to gloss over that piping up in a meeting, because that's important. I want to know exactly what you piped up to say, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so just to take it back a bit, parenting. What were your parents? What were their plans for you? Because parents always have plans for their kids, and what do they think of the path that you chose for yourself?
So my dad really, my parents were, my father was a minister in the Church of England. So there you go. And I grew up in inner city Liverpool. But I went to a very posh boarding school because I won a scholarship when I was 11. And my dad was really clear that I was to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a journalist like you. So that was kind of what I was playing with, eventually politics or journalism. And God bless him. He was one of those people that, or is one of those people that wanted me to live the life he didn't have. And so I did really pretty well, but I wasn't like top of the pops. And, you know, one of those dads that was like deeply disappointed if you didn't get 100% in an exam. That was kind of my upbringing from him. And he brought me up to believe I could be anything I wanted to be. So it was this really interesting dichotomy. And my mum just loved me for who I was, to be honest. And so I had that really great balance. I had someone to balance it out, you know. I remember ringing my dad with results and he'd be like, why didn't you get straight A's, Danielle? And in my first job, could not understand why I wasn't on the board when I was like 20. And so, and he'd never had a corporate career, right? And so, yeah, he was very proud of me, and also I was a disappointment is probably how I would describe it. And I had this really weird life where I was, well, half the year I was living on a council estate in inner city Liverpool, and the other half I was with girls whose parents worked with celebrities and had tennis courts in their gardens and all the rest of it. So this really unusual life of extreme dimensions. But I think that served me really, really well because I can pretty much communicate with anybody.
Okay, now I can imagine. So like that two worlds together kind of stuff. Okay, I want to find out later how that shaped your career. But you talked about your dad not being happy with less than 100%. Are you sure you didn't have a Nigerian dad? Because that's what I had, and that was the same thing. It's like you got an A, not an A star. Like what went wrong?
I swear to you, I actually got 99% in an exam once, and he asked me why it wasn't 100.
Yeah, crazy, right? Crazy. You know, but do you think that helped to kind of spur you on to believe that you could achieve a lot more, you know, a lot more in life because of that mindset your dad drilled into you?
I think he really helped me. And I think my mum really backed it as well, around this idea that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And so definitely, I mean, I'm the youngest of three by 9 years. And luckily or unluckily for me, I'm the only one of the three who fell for his nonsense. So I was kind of like the chosen one, really, because I was the only one who listened. And but I do believe that gave me an innate level of confidence. And also what I would say, when you grow up, and maybe you'll relate to this or not, I don't know how you got to doing what you're doing, but I grew up with my parents constantly speaking at the front of rooms. My dad had a radio show on Radio City in Liverpool. So I never had a fear of being at the front of the room, and I was obsessed with debating. Like that was my favorite thing to do. And the only reason I'd wanted to be a lawyer was, if I'd have done it, was so I could, you know, stand in court and hold space. So that was really something that I loved to do. And so I never had a fear of public speaking because I thought that's what everybody did. Like that's what I saw my parents do all the time. And so it's interesting to me, often people come to me and they'll say, you know, how do you get on a stage with no fear? And it's the one thing I can't really teach them because I never had that fear. I never had it.
I was the exact opposite. I was absolutely the exact opposite of you. Like literally, I was that kid. I was so shy in school that if the teacher even thought to ask me a question, I would turn red, and I'm black. You know, so it was like I was the exact terrified of public speaking. But I think having mastered that as an adult, and now I've got my own 2 young kids, I realized just how important it is that as a parent, you encourage your kids in certain things that will serve them in life, like being able to speak out in public. So we've started their training. They're 4 and 6, and they get in front of stuff and they speak.
And there's no one better to learn from than somebody who had the fear at the beginning. Like I can empathize with it, but I have zero lived experience of it, right? And so when people come to me and I'm like, I can show you my techniques if you want, but actually it's always been very natural to me. I'd love for you to spend some time with somebody who had to work through the fear, because I didn't, So actually you're much more powerful in that space than me, because it was never, there are many things that are hard, but that wasn't one of them,
Yeah, I love it. And I do want to ask you about visibility as well, because that's part of what we're talking about today. The what visibility is and the fear of being visible that a lot of women especially have. But let's go back to 21. So you were raised, and you're not afraid of speaking up. So you're in a boardroom. So I guess it's kind of like a natural environment for you, in the boardroom.
Well, you say that. I was in a construction company and I had zero idea what anybody was talking about, would be my truth. So I was in a construction company for a few years, and then I went to another consultancy, which is actually where my husband comes from. We met much later than that. But and I was sitting in the room, and so I'd have to really concentrate, because on the whole, I didn't understand what they were talking about. But I was always interested in where can I contribute, and not least because it was an almost all male organization. And so there was a requirement for a female voice in what was going on. And so actually what happened, Mildred, was really straightforward. It was a board meeting, and they were talking about holiday allowances. That's what they were talking about. This is the beginning of my career in HR, funnily enough. And they were just making up all this nonsense about what they thought people thought. And of course these were people I hung around with every day. And so they were about to come up with some ridiculous policy that just made no sense. And I just said, if you'll give me a minute, maybe I could share with you what people are talking about. And it was a hilarious moment, because I'll never forget it. Literally, the chairman just looked at me like, and who are you? But he did listen. And then what happened over time was, every time they had an agenda item that was about people, they would literally turn to me and go, what do you think, Danielle? Like the only representative of the people in the room. And so over time that became really powerful. And then, but this would be really relevant for you. I struck it lucky in a really beautiful way. So a woman joined the organization as head of learning and development. It was a very new thing back then. I'm not that young, no appraisals were like just being launched into the world. Now we should get rid of them, but and this woman was one of a very small number of women in the organization. And I was asked to look after her, show her around. And she was the kind of person who thinks aloud. And so when she was building her strategy, she used to call me and say, could you come for a coffee with me? And she was basically teaching me how to build a training department. She didn't mean to, but she was just using me to bounce ideas off. And I was interested, and somebody was feeding me, so it was brilliant. And what happened was, she was speaking at 2 partner events. So she was speaking at 2 massive events, about 150 partners at each one. And she was called to be an expert witness at a trial for one of them. And I never knew this till afterwards. Somebody else told me that it had happened. She went in to see the managing partner, and he said, well, this is a disaster. We've got people coming from all over the world to see you launch this. What are we going to do? And she said, put Danielle on the stage. And he burst out laughing. I was his PA's assistant, to be clear, right? Yeah. And she said, put Danielle on the stage. And he said, don't be ridiculous. We're going to put the operations manager on. She said, I'm telling you now, she knows this like the back of her hand, and she will do a good job. And so 2 days, and she said, I'll put my job on the line for it. That's how much you can trust it.
Wow. Which
is incredible, right? And so 2 days later, I got on the stage, delivered a 2.5-hour workshop to 150 partners. And it was so bizarre, because I'd always been the secretary who got them the tea. I mean, literally, that was my life. And you could see, and they were just asking me questions, and they were engaging with me, and they were really interested. And the next morning I came into work, sat down at my desk to do my typing, and the managing partner just went, in my office. And things changed from there.
Wow. So you had an opportunity. So was there at any point that you thought, oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this? Or were you like, bring it, I'm ready?
I think I knew that I could do it. I was never worried about that. But what I didn't know was whether I could create the respect. Mm-hmm. I mean, it genuinely was an organization. And even when I became an associate partner there within a few years, And I would still walk into rooms and people would go, Danielle, the printer's not working, or we haven't got enough biscuits. I mean, it was horrendous. And so to stand up there as like a baby secretary, I just didn't know if I had enough. I knew I could teach it. I knew that, but I didn't know if I had enough skill to get them to respect me. And so I feel really blessed that I must have opened it well, and they sat and listened.
Mm-hmm. And how did you gain? So talk us through your career from then. So from being this PA's PA to being this partner, associate partner. So how did you transition, and then how did you gain that respect that you talk about in that space of time?
Well, it was hard work. I will say that it felt like a battle, and I look back on it now, and I was young and I was really ambitious and I wanted things, and I did fight. And there were several occasions where I remember like proper kicking ass and saying, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, and really sort of shocking people. And that's not necessarily how I would do it now. I was a kid, but I was very blessed. The managing partner, the second managing partner, the other one became CEO, had a lot of time for me. And I think everybody recognized I was so interested in people and behavior. Like that was my thing. And so he made me head of HR when I was 26. And this was an international company, 3,500 people. I'd never worked in HR before. And I remember even then, like going into work that day and going, how has this happened? Like literally, who would put me in charge of this department? And I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anything. I just knew that I knew how to talk to people. And I knew that I knew I was creative. I've always been really creative. And so I did that job for a year before I left. I moved to Scotland. My husband and I set up a business. It went spectacularly bust. I mean, literally, we lost. We didn't go bankrupt, but that was only by virtue of him being creative with loans, and it was crushing. So I'd gone from this peak to nothing. And this quite cocky young girl, probably, who thought the world was her oyster, to discover that I wasn't quite as talented as I thought I was. And that was devastating. And then to be in Scotland, which was very different to London, to try and get a job at 27, it was unheard of in those days. That was, I don't know, 17 years ago. You didn't be head of HR of anywhere in Scotland at 26. And so what I found was people thought I was lying, and it was really hard for me to get interviews, and it was super challenging. And I ended up in like a job I hated for a year just to get money. I mean, we were literally going to the bank on a Saturday and taking out, all the money was going to the banks to pay off these loans. And we were taking out like 40 quid for the shopping and £20 each. And that's what we were living off. And I had a decent job at that point. I was earning decent money, but that's all there was, because everything else went to the bank. And so most people don't know that. But when I eventually joined Sky TV, which is where I ended up as an HR manager, I was earning good money, but behind the scenes, we had nothing, absolutely nothing. And I look back on that time of my life and think it was really important. It was really, really important. I learned the value of cash in a business. I learned that we could rise up from anything. When you've done something like that, you can pretty much recover from it. And I swore, Mildred, I'd never have my own business again. So that went well.
Surprise, surprise.
And so I was at Sky for 12 years. I did 7 jobs. And I ended up as customer service director, which again was a bit of a shocker for me, but I was leading 10,000 people, and it was a great shock. I got a call from the MD one day, and he said, do you want to run the call centers? And I genuinely thought he was joking. I burst out laughing, and he said, no, we want you. And so I went from leading 65 people in change to 10,000 the next morning. And bizarrely, I came home. It just came home, because back to what you were saying at the beginning about the Liverpool and the boarding school thing, I was leading call center advisors, and do you know what? They were my people. Mm-hmm. They were just my people. And it was so important to me. It was so important to me that they felt significant, and that they felt like they were making a contribution, and that they knew they were cared about. And so it was a privilege of my life, really, to be able to lead that many people in a role that I would never have believed. 21-year-old me, that's not where I thought I'd end up. But I loved it.
Of course. And how old were you at that time, roughly?
How old am I? I would have been 37 or 38 when I took that job on. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the transition like then? So going from, I know it was like it happened overnight. It was from hundreds to thousands.
Yeah.
What did that feel like in your head when you made that shift?
I'll tell you exactly what it felt like. When I got my scholarship to my boarding school, I'll remember many moments where I might be on my own at that school, and I'd be walking down some bit of open land, and I'd be like, how did I end up here? Right? And I'd be so grateful. I'd just be like bursting with it. It was exactly like that. Like, but it was terrifying as well. So I'll tell you this, it'll make you laugh. I finished up my job as change director before Christmas, and on the 1st of January or 2nd, I was due to go in as customer service director. And my husband could see I was really edgy about it. And he said, Danielle, what is going on with you? And I said, I can't even share this with you because it's so pathetic. And he said, what is going on? And I said, I don't know where my seat is. And because what I knew was that there used to be this big office for the customer service director, and it had moved, and the person before me had been in a different office to me. And I was like, I have to rock up on Monday. I'll be running this whole building, and I don't even know if anyone's planned for anywhere for me to sit. And I was so nervous. I mean, honestly, it was insane. And he was like, are you kidding me? And I went, no, I just feel like I know all of these people, but I don't yet feel like I belong there. I don't know if they'll accept me. I don't know if this is all going to be okay. And in many ways, Mildred, I remember saying, I went home the night I got offered the job and I cried. And my husband said, why are you crying? And I said, because I'm just a secretary.
Mm. Okay.
And he was like, no, you're not. And I said, I am, that's where I started. And he was like, but that's not where you are now. So whilst I'm inherently confident, I really am compared to lots of other people, we've all got our shit going on, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's true, isn't it? So what I know, I've just had like epic, like everything just fell down. My lights just fell down.
You want me to rip while you fix it?
I know, right? Thank you. Do you remember Beatles About? Yes, this is like classic. Today's been Beatles About for me. I'm like, who is pulling pranks on me? If anyone remembers Beatles About in the comments, let me know, right? It's a British show. They did pranks, and yeah, this is what's been happening to me tonight, pranks. But yeah, please put the cushion behind there, please. Thank you. My husband's come to the rescue. Woo-woo.
Yeah, mine's in another room entirely. He's bored of all this.
Oh my God, I love it. So but yeah, no, that's great. No, I hear you. So even though all this stuff happened, so inside you were like, I guess it was for like a fleeting moment, right? You thought, I'm still a secretary, How long did that moment last? Did you just kind of then boot yourself up and get back to it the next day?
Yes and no. I mean, I had a coach. I was really worried about initially all the things I didn't know, which was a lot. And it became really clear to me that I could spend my time focusing on learning all the things I didn't know, or I could just walk in and do what I knew how to do. Mm-hmm. And what I've always known how to do is how to inspire people and how to make them feel loved and like they belong. And so I know I wound a lot of people up right at the beginning. I remember the comms team going wild with me because I used to just write a blog and publish it. And they used to be like, we have to see it before you send it. And I was like, no, why? It's just for me to these real human beings, And so, and I literally just got on the road. And I went to we had 15 sites, and I said, I just turned up and I said, it's my job to make sure you love what you do. That's my job. And I trust that if I can do that for you, you will do an amazing job. And so you have to help me work out what those things are. And I literally said that so many times in these sessions that eventually it landed in my skull, and that's part of what I do. And this is probably something for everybody, is when I want to learn something, I speak it. I speak it many, many times. When I want to get it into my own head, then I say it a lot of times. And if I want to teach something, if I really want to get something in my bones that I've just learned, I teach it. Because the more I speak it, the more it seems to settle into my own mind, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree. Well, yeah, that whole teaching and teaching again is a great way to embed what you
Yeah.
know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. So you said like you've always, so caring about people and all of that is something you've always been good at. That's innate. You know,
Yeah.
interest. Where did that interest come from? That interest in people and behavior? Is it because you're the last born and you had to,
Well, you're
you
going to
know,
laugh,
in
right?
your way, or
I don't think so. I was talking to my business partner about this, Nick, who's just astounding the other day. And I said, it'll sound really crazy, but when I was a baby, my parents became born again Christians. And so my brother and sister were older than me. And I just must have been this really bizarre child. So apparently, when I was potty trained, my mum and dad were so excited about being discovered by Jesus and being loved by Jesus that was going on in the house all the time. You know, and they're not really charismatic people or anything, but it was a big new exciting thing. And so apparently when I was being potty trained, when I finished doing a wee, I said, I finished, praise the Lord. And that was how I let everybody know I'd finished, right? And so I think there are loads of things wrong with religion, right? I think there are bucket loads of things wrong, but what I do know is I was just brought up with this: you are loved and God loves everybody. And I think I was so young, and the place we were was so beautiful, that even though sometimes I might have issues with my faith, I can't escape that. Like, it's in my bones. Everybody is lovable. And so I was always the kid who befriended the kid who didn't have friends. And I was always, you know, like when you're in a shop and there's a really lovely teddy bear and there's a really skanky one, I would want the skanky one because I'd be like, no one's going to love that one. So I have to take that one and love it like it's the best teddy bear in the world. So that was like, it's just who I was. It's just who I was. And I'm so grateful for that. And I think it also brings its challenges because, you know, you have a big high flying career. My husband used to say to me every time I got a bonus, he'd be like, are we going to keep any of this? Because I would just be giving it away all the time. Because sometimes it's really hard when you're in that position to have money, you know, because it doesn't feel right. And so, and there are people on the call who know me really well. I can see a few names. And so I've always been in this space of like, how do we raise money for other people? How do we create impact? How do we create change? I'm getting more mature in my thinking around that as I've done more and more of it. But yeah, I've always loved the underdog, apart from my football team, although they're not doing very well at the moment. But I'm a red, not a blue, because I'm from Liverpool.
is that Liverpool?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna go there. I live with a Manchester United fan, and anytime the football's on, oh, to American guys, soccer. We're talking about soccer. You know, but no, I love that. I love that. I love that. Chris says, "What a great attitude." You know, so that is a lovely attitude. And did they at any point? Did you ever feel like it was a hindrance to be too nice, speech marks? Like, because there's this idea of, especially as a woman, as you go up the ladder and the higher up you go, you must adopt masculine traits of, you know, really being hard and all of that. Did that cross your mind, and how did you deal with that?
Well, let's not kid ourselves that I couldn't be a corporate bitch, because I could, right? So let me be honest to that. But also, I think that's a beautiful question because it leads to what we teach now. And at the heart of all of our work is what we call heart-centered leadership, and this idea that you can create astounding results by trusting your heart as much as your head. And how do we allow you to become so compelling and inspiring that you don't need to tell people what to do? You don't need to convince them that you're right. And so, and the lucky thing for me, Mildred, is that my last 4 years at Sky, I just treated as a playground. I went through a big personal transformation. I reconnected with my heart in a way that had probably got lost at some point in my corporate career. And the point at which I did that was when I got to take on this big area. We smashed it out of the park. We improved results by 140%. And throughout that time, I was practicing more and more and more what it meant to really be in alignment with my values, what it meant to see people as human beings. I used to have a message in my, used to pop up on my calendar every day, and it used to say, human beings, not objects, right? And it was this reminder to me every single day that I had to remember these were real people. in my decision making. And so my work, and this is like at the heart of what I do, is to show women how to be so compelling that they don't need to feel like they have to put on masculine traits. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with masculine traits, but there's enough people with those already.
Yes.
You know, we need the balance.
Absolutely. So, but a lot of people feel like in corporate roles, you kind of have to conform and this heart dies, you know, whatever it is that you have. So, how did you manage to connect with your heart while you were still in your corporate role?
Well, the phrase we teach actually is care so much you don't give a shit. And what we mean by that is put your eye so clearly on the impact you want to create that your ego doesn't get to run the show. And so the truth of the matter is, and I think this was really clear at Sky to probably everybody who knew me, I wasn't fixed on being there forever. And what I realized was, when else in my whole life would I get a playground like 10,000 people to practice with and experiment with? And I mean that in the kindest way. Like, what happens if we dial up the humanity? What happens if we dial up the compassion? But also, there's this bullshit thing that flies around that heart-centered leadership is about being soft with people, and it's not. The most kind thing you can do for anybody is meet them where they are with love and clarity. You know, so it's not kind to pretend to somebody that everything's fine when you know they're going to get fired in 6 months, right? These things, it's much kinder to sit them down really early on and say, I care about you and there are consequences to your behavior right now. And so that's the thing that we're teaching all the time. And it's so cool. I mean, we teach this thing called Queen leadership. We teach kings as well, by the way, but we lead on Queen because we're a female business. And I had this amazing email about 2 years ago from a director of a massive company. And she said, can we meet? You've changed my life. And I thought, I can't have changed her life. I've never met her. And so I met her on screen and she said, I watched 10 minutes of your video on Queen. She said, and the next day I went into a meeting and I could literally hear your voice in my head. She said, and we ended a war. Our department ended a war that had been going on with another department for over a year in one meeting.
Wow. That's impact.
Exactly. And who doesn't want that? Like, everyone's sick of stabbing each other in the back. You know, so much of business is like the Hunger Games. And when we live like there's not enough for all of us, which cannot be true. Look at the world's resources, right? Some of us have a little bit more than we need, let's face it. But when we live like there's not enough for all of us, we think it's okay to take from other people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. It's in season 1 with this whole idea of kind leadership also came up with JP. I don't know if she's still here, JP's interview. So you two should definitely connect. You know, that's awesome. But so you get to this place, you've connected with your heart, and you know you kind of know you weren't gonna be at Sky forever. So when did that move start taking place? When did you, and how did Remarkable Woman, was that the first thing you moved into when you left Sky?
Well, in fact, we started it before I left, which is ironic because I was supposed to be having a year off. We were called Somebody Inside Limited. It's the same business. We changed our trading name 2 years ago, and we now Remarkable Women Limited. And yeah, so I knew I was coming to the end of my time at Sky. I wanted to leave while I was still in love with the place. That was really important to me. I'll be honest and say it looked like Rupert Murdoch was going to buy it back. I wasn't really up for that. And so it just felt like the right time to go. And it was my plan to have a year off. I had to work 6 months notice. And I happened to go on to an event with my business partner, who was my friend before that. The most talented coach you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, outstanding woman. We went to an event in London and she said, she'd left Sky, she'd been there before, and she was now running her own business. And she said, I really miss being on stage. I never do it anymore. And I said to her, well, I've been invited to speak at this event, and they've told me I can speak about whatever I want as long as I inspire the women in the room. Why don't you come and do it with me? And she said, well, I can't because they've asked for you. And I said, well, I can do what I want, so come. She thought I was joking, but I rang her on the Monday and said, I've arranged it all. It's all fine. They're happy. And so we rocked up to this event. And we taught a room full of women in the Balmoral Hotel, or Scotsman, sorry, in Edinburgh, for about 2 hours about the power of sisterhood. And there were all these women in corporate suits crying because few of our clients on this line, I can see them all know that everyone cries at our events, and but in a really powerful way, like really connecting. And at the end of the event, people were coming up to us, literally crowding us, going, "Where do we sign up?" And we were like, "Well, what to? We're not a thing." And, so we became a thing. It was really wasn't planned at all.
Oh wow. So it's basically out of the demand. You just thought, okay, let's do this.
Well, I think out of the demand, out of the joy of seeing their faces as we taught something new, out of the synergy between the two of us that we knew was really powerful, and really at the sense that this was the time, And so I went away and drew up some random thing on a piece of paper, rocked up at Nick's house one night and said, "What do you think of this?" And that's what we did.
I love it.
I've got a piece of paper down there somewhere because we keep it 5 years on.
I love it. So it's been 5 years since you've been doing Remarkable Woman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then you've had to you said previously you never wanted to get into business. Like JP says, applause for kind leadership. She is here. Kat, can I call you Kat? Because I'm about to butcher your name. I'm so sorry, Kat. Always have tissues. Yeah. Events are so impactful. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm a crier, so I'll probably be. I can't come to your events. I'll be crying all the way through.
We always have like boxes. Kat knows we always have boxes of tissues in the room.
I love it. I love that. That's real impact. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so it's 4 years, almost 5 years you've been doing this business. So let's talk LinkedIn and let's talk your presence on LinkedIn before the business and after. So did you have a presence while you were at
Well,
Sky?
I had one of those presences that was because I felt you should. I didn't really know what LinkedIn was for. And I never used it and I never connected with anyone I didn't know, which I think is classic. I think is absolutely classic. And so when we set up the business, I was a bit like, oh, LinkedIn must be a thing. Maybe I'll see if I can get some leverage out of it. And I'll be honest with you, LinkedIn bored the shit out of me. And it still does to some extent. Like there's a lot of tripe, which is such an advantage, by the way, to anyone who wants to stand out on LinkedIn. It's not that hard. People do post garbage. And what I mean by that is, like a random, I just got my health and safety certificate. And it's like, okay, well done, but most of us are not that interested. And so I just started to play with what I had done at Sky. And what I'd done at Sky when I got my job was I wrote a message to everybody on a Monday morning. But I still write on LinkedIn on a Monday now and on the whole. And I told them a story. And so I thought, well, I don't have those people to write to anymore. I'll do it on LinkedIn. And so they were much shorter, obviously, because LinkedIn has short text. But actually, I really like that. That's quite fun for me. And so I just started to tell stories. And then I realized I had to say yes to people who wanted to connect with me that I didn't know, and which was fun. And people started to reach out to me, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't know anybody in Edinburgh. And so I started to engage, and I was really tentative at the beginning. I mean, like I didn't know what I was doing. I got clearer over time. But I did do this one thing that I want to share with everybody. I don't know if you could do it anymore. I don't think the functionality is there. But one day I had quite a lot of connections at this point, and I decided I would filter out all the men, because the women I was inviting to follow us and all the rest of it. But the men I wasn't doing anything with, because obviously they weren't our target market. And so one day I sent an email inspired by a client of mine who had also done it, saying, what happens when you write to your connections? And the email said, hello, we're connected, and yet we never speak. And so I wondered if I could be of service to you today. And I shared a story with them. I shared my favorite books of that year. And I said, this is what we're doing. Write back and let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And I nearly wet myself sending it. I was like, I'm literally sending this to a whole bunch of strange men, and I have no idea what's going to happen. And the first person to write back was my boss from when I was back in that construction consultancy, who I hadn't heard from for, I don't know, at least 10 years.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, there's power in this machine, and I have not been using it.
Okay. Wow. Out of curiosity, what did he say? What was his response?
He said, I can't believe you're doing all this. It's absolutely amazing. We should talk.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we never did, funny enough, but it didn't matter, because there was something in that email that made me go, alrighty. I can connect with people. And that's what I love about LinkedIn, like versus Facebook or Instagram. It's the only one where you can make real connections.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it.
With complete
Absolutely love it.
strangers. And so that's so powerful. You know, and our business is built on one conversation at a time. And so, or one speech at a time or whatever it is, but it's built on these direct connections. And so suddenly I was just like, oh my God, this thing's amazing, right? This thing's amazing. And then I was lucky, Mildred, I had one post go viral. And so it did about 140,000 views, which I don't think you could get now very easily, unless you're in the kind of big controversial topics, which is not where we spend our time. And I was just smart enough at that point. All I did was every single person who liked it, there was a woman. My audience is filtered biased towards women. So if men connect with me, I absolutely connect with them. But I don't go out and actively connect with men because I want my work to reach my audience, right? And so I literally, everybody who liked it, I sent them a connection request. And all it said was, thank you so much for engaging with my post. Would you be open to connecting with me? And I probably picked up like 1,000 connections in a week. And then we were getting on, right?
Yeah. It's we have very similar strategies, very, very similar. And it does take a bit of behind the scenes work, which sometimes people don't appreciate, goes on LinkedIn if you really want to use the platform effectively, you know. So do you actually use it to Gula says, what a great idea, amazing how you powered up the machine. That is amazing. Actually, that reminds me, so with that, did you literally send them an email?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that anymore, can you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but now what we do is, if we want to reach people, we just do it through the messaging, and obviously you can get botted and booted out if you do too many. So we do them on a kind of, I mean, let me be clear. When I say we do them, I'm a big believer in personalization, and so I never really like people to feel like they're getting a cut and paste from me. So even if we've got a body of text, there's always something personal at the top and something personal at the bottom. Which is, and so it's quite hard for me to delegate to other people, even though I'd like to, because I get a lot of traffic on LinkedIn, what's going on in my inbox, because I want people to know I see
you. Yeah. That's important, isn't it? That's important. So what's your LinkedIn strategy? Like, what do you do? So you said you post on Mondays. Is that deliberate, just once a week? Is that what you do?
Pretty much, yeah. I've been a bit sporadic over the last few months, genuinely because we're overflowing with clients. So it's and I want to credit LinkedIn with a chunk of that for sure. LinkedIn has been very powerful for speaking events. It's been very powerful for often. I mean, my stories are very deliberate in terms of the structure of them, and that might help people. I tell them stories about my experience and what I learned in the hope that it might offer them some insight. I'm a really great believer that you don't tell other people what to do, and you don't tell them you know stuff that they don't know, and you don't make them wrong. But it's really easy to show where I was wrong, right? And so my stories are often about, here's how I was showing up. And I realized, actually, this is what I was creating as a consequence as a leader. And so often what happens is when I write those kind of stories, people write back, and they write to me personally, and they say, well, that's what's happening to me right now. And from the back of that, we'll get into a conversation. Sometimes, not always, you know, because it's how busy. I always write back. I never ignore it. But sometimes I'm ready to open the doors to more contacts, and sometimes I'm not, you know. And I still want to keep the content regular so that people know I'm there and I'm showing up for them. But then we get into a one-to-one conversation, and we see where we go. But that's the other thing that I see all the time, and you must like it. There's nothing more off-putting than somebody connecting with me, and then the first mail is clearly, and now I'd like to sell you some stuff.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's horrendous, because, and my favorite one is like, well, you know, God bless all the coaches out there, but please stop doing the whole, I've got a free session and I've got 10 free sessions to give away, because it's like, it's literally like walking down the street and somebody walks out and goes, hello, I'm a dentist, I'm doing free fillings today, open your mouth, right? And you're like, who are you?
I know. You know,
you're not gonna be like, okay, let me sit down and tell you my life story. You're like, I need to build trust with you. And so my work on LinkedIn is to show the women who need what I have to offer, to show them who I am, so that they can get a sense of, am I someone who can help them with whatever it is they want to create right now? And so that's always my strategy. I'm not leaping into, I sell through experience, right? And so all of our work is always about, it's really hard to explain what we do, right? It's much easier to say, well, come and have an experience. Here's an invitation only masterclass. Come and have an hour with me. But I never do coffee and a chat. Like, you know, when I wrote out to you, I was like, I want to talk to you about whether you're right for our women. You know, it wasn't let's just mingle around for an hour. You know? because my diary is super busy and so is yours.
Yeah.
I think when you're early days with LinkedIn, it's okay to do the chat thing. But if you really we teach this thing called the powerful request, right? So how do you show up in a message and have somebody go, oh, hang on a minute, here's somebody I want to spend time with. And so, yeah, it's just about how can I talk about, do you remember, it's Where's Wally in the UK, right? And in America, it's Where's Waldo. When people just do these like kind of really vanilla posts on LinkedIn, I'm like, how can anyone know who you are? And if you cover up your red and white stripy t-shirt with a white one because you're not sure if you're acceptable to everybody, the people who really need you and like your weirdness and your quirkiness think you're just another vanilla person, and you're not. Right? So wear your red and white shirt on LinkedIn so they can find you.
Absolutely. Maybe different colors, but
Yes, I said that was very Liverpool, wasn't it? But Waldo wears red and white, right?
I'm with you 100%, you know, because that's the thing people forget. Personal brand has the word personal in there, right? So it's literally about you. And I'm fully on board with, I'm with you. It's that whole getting people to know you, like you, trust you, is that social selling. That's how LinkedIn works best. And for them to do that, they need to know you and like you and trust you. So you have to start wearing your red and white colors, you know, as you put it. So absolutely, I love that. And as you know, I'm really about visibility. You know, that's big for me. I really feel like it is, like you, it's like, I know it's an area that women struggle with, and you know, that just showing up, being yourself, showing up online. So like, what does being visible mean to you, and how do you harness that in the work that you do today?
It's always been really important to me that people see me as a regular human being who knows how to own my gifts, right? And so I want people to see all sides of me. The visibility of social media, I've always been really clear. I would hate for people, and I know it happens anyway, to think I live some kind of unicorn life and I'm on a marshmallow floating down, right? I want people to be in an experience of what goes well and what's shitty. So like I did a post in lockdown where I really melted, which was, I haven't been around for a while and here's why. And so I like to give you some of my insights in a way that might give you some insight too, which is part of what I do, right? So when I'm learning, you get the benefit of it. So I want every interaction to be deeply human. I don't want you to feel like you've got to show up perfectly around me, because I'm not going to show up perfectly around you. And so I don't like grammar mistakes, particularly because I'm a bit of a grammar stickler, but they happen. I don't get uptight about it. I'm not posting flashy photos because it doesn't work for us, and I don't like it. So of course it doesn't work because I don't like doing it, right? And so it just, for me, just honest, you know. And this is what I always want to say to people who get really edgy about LinkedIn or anywhere else. Frankly, at the beginning, no one's bloody looking anyway. You know, it's like, what? No one's going to see it. You think this nonsense about number of views and all the rest of it just means they've scrolled past it. You know, it doesn't mean they've deeply dug into what you've written. And even if you write the best post in the world, you're not that interesting, you know? So it's like, you can get it wrong a few times. It doesn't matter, you know? And we've consciously kept like our first 2 videos on YouTube. They are awful. Honestly, it's like me and Nick over in a corner in the dark. And I leave them there deliberately because I want people to know, yes, we were also crap when we started. You know?
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, when I first started doing videos, it took ages for me anyway, because I was like, oh, I'm a writer. I write, I don't do video, you know. So it took me forever. And then my first lot of videos, probably each of them were about at least 20 takes. If I could get like a minute, good enough to put out on LinkedIn, you know. So, but you evolve. The more you do it, the more you evolve.
It's
And then
the only way. Like,
it's the
you
only
cannot
way.
expect to. If I gave, I don't know whether you play an instrument, right? But if you and me just picked up a violin now and tried to play the Four Seasons, it's not going to happen.
No.
Right? We have to start with squeaking away on one note, and maybe after 3 weeks we can play Jingle Bells. You know, that's just how it goes. And so we've been doing this. I've been posting every week on LinkedIn for 4.5 years. You know, and yes, there were some in the early days that did really well. And do you know what? It's so blinking unpredictable, because what I know is when I think I've crafted a masterpiece, that's the one that will go absolutely nowhere. And then I'll like half-ass one in 2 minutes, and it'll be like everybody loves it, and I'm like, okay, whatever. All I can do is show up with what's in my head, and if you like it, you like it.
100%. I love that. I totally agree. Gula's scared to put a video up. Gula, you absolutely need to. Yes, we'll get you there. Hi, Jessie. I didn't know you were on this call. Great point. Focusing on perfection can be a barrier to be invisible. Yes. And Mumwara's saying, oh my God, so true about videos. You know, yeah, Mumwara's now addicted to videos. I love it. She does good videos.
Well, and interestingly, our whole business is built on video content, and I didn't do any videos on LinkedIn, right? Yeah. So you're going to work out your way, you know. The important thing is to try all the different ways to see what your audience is looking for and to build your audience. And also I'm going to say this, I don't believe you can fake it through in terms of building a following. And so I'm always really interested when I see somebody in a pod and there's like coaches, God bless them, doing it all the time, loads of coaches supporting each other. And I'm like, who do you think's reading this post now, apart from other coaches who are not looking for a coach?
Yeah.
You know, and so you got to go and find the people who are actually in the world that you want to operate in. And so you got to write for them. And if they don't engage with your post, you know, rev it up. I will admit at the beginning, on Facebook, not on LinkedIn, we got friends to engage with our posts so that they got some movement. And I do think that's important. But once you've done that, it's then important to let that fade so you can see what's actually resonating for your people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree, you know. So I know we've got a few minutes left, but I really want you to talk about your book, Remarkably Easy, because you have a book, you know, there it is, which is available on Amazon and all good bookshops. But tell us about this book and tell us what's in it.
So this book's all about how to get out of your own way, basically. And it's well, there are a few people online. In fact, the woman, Kat Berridge, is the woman this book is dedicated to. So let me just honor her for a minute. It's just me in your head, talking to you like you were sitting next to me, sharing the simple things that your brain tells you that get in the way of you doing the things you want to do, and giving you really easy techniques to think differently. You know, the fact of the matter is, we say everyone's got their own flavor of crazy, right? Everyone has. So you might think, oh, well, Danielle's really confident. I got my stuff going on. I've had 2 eating disorders. If you want to hear a voice in your head that's brutal, I've got one, right? And so our work is all about, how do you learn that loads of the noise in here is just getting in the way of your brilliant self? Mm-hmm. And how do we help you to have really easy, practical ways to move beyond it? And so Kat's put an amazing technique there, which is actually one of hers, which is like this idea of 20 seconds of bravery, right? All it takes is 20 seconds of bravery. And really the 20 seconds is not filming the video, it's pressing send. It doesn't even take 20, it takes 1 second. And there's nothing scary about hitting return on your computer. You've done it loads of times before. Like, you do it hundreds of times a day. And if you can break it down into that tiny action, rather than this whole, the world is going to see me making a fool of myself, all you're doing is typing something, which you do every day of your life, and then you're hitting the return button. You can do that. Right? And so the book is just about really simple things like that enable you to realize there's just madness going on up here, and it's not for giving attention to, right? So that's what I'm excited about. What I know is every person on this call is stacked with their own unique set of brilliance, and we need it in the world. And the more you hold it back, the more we miss out on some of the healing and your jigsaw piece. your jigsaw piece. And so all of my work is about release it, release it, release it. That's why I flipping love being on something called Visible Women, right?
Yes. And I love you being on it. I have absolutely loved you being on this. This was such a great conversation. It's been so great to get to know the behind the scenes of what makes you the remarkable woman that you are, to be quite honest, you know. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your tips, and all of it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So there's loads of comments. I didn't get to go through all the comments, but I'm not gonna. Danielle might go through them at some point and reply when she's got a bit of time as well. I will go through them after as well. Not tonight, not promising tonight, but I will do definitely. So, what is the best way? Yeah, Krista, can I see the book one more time? And is this available on Amazon, Danielle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the best place, or should they go to your website to get it?
No, go to Amazon. It's as easy as anywhere else. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And if people want to connect with you from here on, what's the best thing?
LinkedIn, of course.
Of course.
I mean, actually, it is. It's where I'm most present on any platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is brilliant. And she lets people in now, guys. So don't worry, you will be allowed into her network.
You will, of course.
Yeah, no, that is so fantastic. So Danielle, thank you so much for your time tonight. Do you have any parting words for our audience before I let you go for the rest of the evening?
Oh, I'm gonna reiterate yours. Show up, people. We need you.
Absolutely. I love it. You heard it from Danielle. Show up. We need you on LinkedIn, and we need you beyond that. So go and check out Danielle on LinkedIn. Connect with her. You can drop her a message to say it's Visible Woman on LinkedIn, so she doesn't block you, so she knows where you're coming from, you know. But thank you on behalf of myself and the whole audience, Danielle. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go, then I'm going to close out the session, and we will be seeing you on LinkedIn, of course. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Wow. Thank you for joining with that. That was an amazing, let me put it back on here. So that was a fantastic interview with Danielle. Oh my God, I was about to say MacLeod again. MacLeod, Danielle MacLeod. She is absolutely remarkable. Go and connect with her on LinkedIn. Go and buy her book, Remarkably Easy. I actually went on Amazon yesterday to look at the book, and it had like 83 almost 5-star reviews. So it's a good book. I should get a copy. So I'm adding that to my list. So go and connect with her. Go and buy her book, and definitely take advice from what she said tonight and start being visible on LinkedIn, because you never know who's watching your post. And as Danielle said, it's been like 4 years of consistency. If you start today is always the best time that you have. So start today on your own journey to being visible. And we're going to be here every Thursday to help you do that for the next 6 weeks. I love that conversation, and I've got 5 more fantastic women that I want to bring to you over the next 6 weeks, every Thursday at 6 o'clock. So I want you to be here. And if you haven't already signed up, just so you can get the email alerts to let you know when it's happening and all of that, go to mildredtalabi.com/visible woman, mildredtalabi.com/visible woman. Now, in case you want to watch this again, the replays will be available immediately after we end the session on my page. So you can watch the replay. You can share the link with anybody you know that would be interested. And I will, of course, see you back here at 6 o'clock next Thursday. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night, a good afternoon, a good evening, a good wherever you are. Have a good one. Until next Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye now.